When the storm is roaring and the winds of life are screaming against your soul, when everything you tried has collapsed beneath you, and it feels like your prayers hit the ceiling and drop back into your hands like broken hopes, hold on. Do not release your grip. Do not walk away. Do not surrender the fight. Because in the exact moment the world declares it is finished, God is only beginning. What people call impossible, God calls an opening. What the world labels hopeless, God calls a stage for His power. You might not see it yet, but God will do what cannot be done for you. So hold on. There is a power beyond understanding, a force that can move what will not move, break what will not break, and open doors no human hand can open. That power belongs to God. When the weight of life presses your shoulders, when tears fall silently on your pillow and nobody sees the ache, God sees, God hears, God knows, and God moves in His time, not yours. He is not confined by logic, science, or statistics. He does not bow to human reasoning. He does not request permission from nature. When God acts, everything else must yield. Some of you have waited a long time. You have prayed, fasted, cried out, and wondered if God has forgotten you. Hear me today with fire in my spirit. God has not forgotten you. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. Sometimes He is working in the background, rearranging things you don't see, removing people who are pretending to be for you, and preparing the very blessing that will leave you breathless. Hold on. Hold on when you don't feel it. Hold on when the walls close in. Hold on when people walk away. Because just beyond that breaking point is the breakthrough. Just beyond the darkest night is the sunrise. God will do the impossible. But He needs you to endure just a little longer. The reason the pressure has been intense is because the promise is massive. The reason the attacks have been relentless is because the blessing is historic. God is not playing games with your destiny. Every delay has been divine. Every rejection has been protection. Every heartbreak was part of the holy setup. God is weaving every disappointment into a design you cannot yet comprehend. If He showed you everything all at once, it would overwhelm you. So He leads you step by step, pain by pain, prayer by prayer. What you think is a breakdown is really a build-up. God is about to do the impossible, but He's shaping you first to be able to handle it. You've cried long enough. You've struggled in silence while others have flourished in the spotlight. But don't envy what others have. You don't know the cost of their applause. You don't know the emptiness behind their smiles. God is doing something deeper with you. He is digging a well in you that won't dry up. The fire you've been walking through is refining you, not destroying you. It's burning off the fear, the doubt, the insecurity. And when the fire lifts, you'll come out not bitter, but better. You'll rise not weak, but wise. You'll stand not broken, but blessed. God doesn't need a majority vote to bless you. He doesn't need a committee to agree. He doesn't need the economy to shift or the people around you to change. He is God all by Himself. And when He says it's time, nothing can stand in the way. The very thing they said would never happen, the very miracle they mocked you for believing in, that's the thing God is going to bring to pass. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove that He is still the God of wonders. He is still the God who parts seas, shuts lions' mouths, rains manna from heaven, and speaks to dry bones until they live again. You may say, but I'm too old, or I've missed my chance, or I'm too broken. Nonsense! Age means nothing to God. Regret is no match for His redemption. Scars don't disqualify you, they prepare you. God can take your worst mistake and use it as the foundation for your greatest miracle. Stop disqualifying yourself from what God has already qualified you for. He knew your flaws when He formed you. He knew your failures before you made them. And yet He still placed greatness inside you. That dream, that desire, that whisper in the depths of your soul. It wasn't random. God put it there. And if He put it there, He will bring it to pass. You're not too late. You're right on time for a God-sized turnaround. It's not over just because it looks over. God doesn't need perfect circumstances. He creates them. He speaks into nothing and produces everything. He breathes into dust and brings forth life. And if He did it before, He can do it again for you. Not just for the stories in ancient books, but for your life, your home, your future. But you must hold on. When your mind tells you to give up, talk back with faith. When fear whispers that it's useless, respond with courage. When doubt tells you to stop believing, fight back with fire. God responds to faith, not fear. He honors persistence, not passivity. He rewards those who seek Him, even in the dark, even when it hurts, even when there are no answers. Hold on, because your persistence is birthing power. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen just after the point of exhaustion. When you feel like you have nothing left to give, that's often the moment when God steps in. Because it's not about your strength, it's about His. It's not your ability that brings the miracle. It's your willingness to believe when everything says you shouldn't. That kind of faith moves the heart of God. That kind of faith opens floodgates. That kind of faith brings water from a rock and bread from the sky. You were never meant to live a mediocre, barely getting by life. You were born with purpose. You were designed for something eternal, and the obstacles you face are not random, they are strategic. The enemy doesn't attack empty vessels. He attacks those who carry something valuable. You've been under pressure because you carry power. You've been tested because you carry truth. But tests precede triumph. Pain preceded purpose. Night precedes dawn. And if you'll hold on just a little longer, God will reveal why the battle had to be so fierce. There is a timing to everything. And just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. God is never late. He is never early. He is always exact. Like a master conductor, He orchestrates every note, every pause, every crescendo. Your delay is not denial, it is preparation. If God gave it to you too soon, it would crush you. But when the timing is right, what once looked like impossibility will suddenly feel inevitable. Not because of you, but because of Him. Lift your head, wipe your tears, straighten your back. This is not the end of your story. This is not the chapter you die in. This is the moment you rise. This is the moment you trust, not in what you see, but in who you believe. God is not finished. He is just getting started. And if you can hold on, just hold on, He will blow your mind with what He is about to do. The people who walked away, necessary. The doors that closed, protection. The setbacks that nearly broke you, preparation. Everything the enemy used to try and break you, God will use to bless you. What was meant to harm you, God will use to lift you. What was meant to destroy you, God will use to define you. This is not a motivational cliche. This is divine truth. Hold on. When the silence stretches longer than expected, trust that God is still speaking, just in a different language. Sometimes He speaks through the ache. Sometimes He speaks through the delay, but He always speaks with purpose. He is not punishing you, He is preparing you. He is not absent, He is arranging something greater than you imagine. You prayed for deliverance, but God is giving you dominion. You asked for relief, but God is building resilience. You wanted out, but God wants you to overcome. And when it happens, and it will, you won't even be able to explain how it came together. Doors will open you didn't knock on. Resources will show up you didn't ask for. People will come into your life with exactly what you needed. Not because of luck, not because of chance, because of God. Because you dared to hold on. Because you refused to quit when quitting seemed easier. Because you trusted when everything said not to. You were not created to live in fear. You were not formed to dwell in defeat. You were not crafted by the Creator to bow to circumstances. You were born to overcome, born to rise, born to walk through fire and come out unburned. Not by your strength, but by God's. The impossible is where God does His best work. He waits until the odds are so stacked against you that no one can get the glory but Him. So don't despise your impossibility. Celebrate it. It is the stage for your greatest miracle. It is the soil for your greatest growth. It is the moment when God steps in and shows the world that He is still in control. You may feel like you've been buried, but you haven't been buried. You've been planted. And in the right season, you will break through the soil and grow into something unimaginable. The tears you've cried have watered the soil. The pain you've endured has fertilized it. And now all that remains is the timing of God. Hold on, not because everything makes sense, but because God is trustworthy. Hold on, not because you see the outcome, but because you know the one who holds the outcome. Hold on, because the same power that holds the stars in the sky is working behind the scenes of your life. You've come too far to give up now. You've prayed too long. You've fought too hard. You've believed too deeply. Don't abort the blessing because of temporary discomfort. Don't forfeit the future because of present pain. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Your miracle is nearer than it feels. God has not brought you this far to leave you. He has not stirred your heart to abandon you. He will finish what He started. The impossible is not the end. It is the invitation. It's the place where logic fails, but faith rises. It's the moment when human strength collapses and divine strength begins. Hold on, not passively, not quietly, but fiercely. With all the faith you have left, with all the strength you can muster, cling to the promise. Grab hold of your faith. Anchor yourself in the truth that God cannot lie. If He said it, it will come to pass. No force can stop it. No person can delay it. No demon can destroy it. There is something sacred about reaching the end of yourself. Something holy about standing at the edge of the cliff with no more strategies, no more strength, no more answers. Only God. That's where the divine takes over. That's where God shows you who He truly is. Not in theory, not in ritual, but in reality. When your plans fail and your hands are empty, you are finally ready to receive what only God can give. And what He gives is not second-hand hope or temporary relief. What He gives is supernatural, unstoppable, undeniable intervention. You see, what you call impossible is only impossible to the human mind. God doesn't see barriers. He sees building blocks. He doesn't see chaos. He sees construction. Every closed door, every detour, every dead end is not a punishment. It is a redirection towards something better, something higher, something you couldn't even imagine when you were praying for less. You asked for a way out, but God is crafting a way through. You asked for a lighter load, but God is giving you stronger shoulders. You asked for peace, but God is shaping you into a person who carries peace no matter the storm. You are not being ignored. You are being fortified. God is not withholding. He is working. And His work is never rushed, never sloppy, never accidental. He knows the pressure required to purify gold. He knows the breaking point of your heart and the turning point of your situation. He sees the tears that no one else notices, the prayers that never made it past your lips, the weariness in your soul that you try to hide behind smiles. God sees all of it, and He is not silent in your suffering. He is present. He is active. He is preparing something no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has conceived. But you must not quit. You must not let weariness convince you that God has walked away. No, this is the time to dig your feet into the soil of belief and say, even if I don't see it yet, I trust what God is doing. Because real faith doesn't depend on visible evidence. It rests on invisible truth. Faith is not the absence of struggle. Faith is the ability to stand tall in the storm, knowing that the same God who calms the sea is walking beside you in the rain. Faith doesn't panic in the silence. It trusts that the composer is building toward the crescendo. You may feel small, you may feel outnumbered, but God doesn't work through majority rule. He works through surrendered hearts. He doesn't need the crowd to validate you. He needs your devotion, because one person fully yielded to God can shift the atmosphere of an entire household. One soul anchored in faith can change the destiny of generations. You are not waiting in vain. You are being positioned. You are being aligned. Your future is not falling apart. It is falling into place by the hand of the one who never fails. Stop measuring your potential by your circumstances. Stop evaluating the power of God based on the size of your problem. God does not compete with impossibility. He conquers it. He does not look at your life and scratch His head. He doesn't consult with fear. He doesn't waver in uncertainty. He speaks in universe's form. He commands, and the mountains tremble. That same voice is speaking over your life even now, declaring, "Be still. I am working. I will make a way." Don't be deceived by the delay. Delay is not denial. Delay is often divine protection, keeping you from rushing into something that would have buried you. God delays not because He is indifferent, but because He is intentional. His ways are higher, His timing is perfect, and His promises are sealed. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and thank Him for not answering every prayer exactly how. And when you ask, and when that moment comes, when the impossible bends to the will of God, when the thing you thought would never happen suddenly happens, you will not say, "Look what I've done," and you will say, "Only God." You will weep, not because you were forgotten, but because you were remembered in ways far greater than you imagined. You'll realize that the waiting was never wasted. It was in the waiting that you were transformed. It was in the silence that you developed sensitivity. It was in the wilderness that your faith grew roots. The valley you're in is not your final destination. It's the ground God is using to cultivate your next elevation. And elevation requires excavation. He digs deep before he builds high. He breaks the soil before he plants the seed. Don't resent the breaking. Don't run from the process. God is not harming you, He is shaping you. Every no, every pause, every lonely moment is part of a larger plan. Trust it. There's a fire in your spirit that hasn't died, and that's no accident. That's God preserving the spark for the day of ignition. He hasn't let it go out because there's still purpose in you. There's still impact waiting. There's still a calling on your life that cannot be erased by time, mistakes, or rejection. People may have walked away, but God never did. People may have doubted you, but God never did. Hold on to that. Stand on that. Let that be your anchor when everything else shakes. There is a reason the opposition intensified just when you decided to fully trust God. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. When you're close to your breakthrough, resistance will rise. But that resistance is not greater than God's persistence. He will not let go of you. He will not abandon what He has begun. He will finish it even if it looks nothing like what you expected. God is not the author of confusion, but sometimes He allows confusion to reveal your convictions. Will you still believe when the answers don't come? Will you still pray when the doors don't open? Will you still stand when the world sits in doubt? That is where true faith is forged. In the unseen, in the unknown, in the uncomfortable. That is where you move from religion to revelation. And once you taste that revelation, once you know deep in your bones that God is real, active, and able, nothing can shake you. Not the news, not the critics, not the setbacks. Because you know too much. You've seen too much. You've been carried through too much to ever doubt again. That kind of knowing can't be learned. It must be lived. And you, my friend, are living through it right now. The burden you carry right now may feel unbearable. The voices around you may tell you it's time to let go, to settle, to walk away. But hear this with every ounce of clarity in your soul. God did not bring you this far to abandon you in the wilderness. This is not the end of your journey. This is the proving ground of your faith. This is where you declare not with words alone, but with every breath in your body, I will wait on God. I will trust in God. I will not be shaken by what I see because I am rooted in what I know. God is able. When everything around you seems to contradict the promise, that's when you must remember who gave the promise. God doesn't make empty declarations. He doesn't stir your heart in vain. If you feel a stirring within your soul, a whisper that tells you there's more, it's because God planted something in you that cannot be silenced by circumstance. You may be surrounded by impossibilities, but you are also overshadowed by divinity. When the pressure increases, it means something sacred is about to be born. Stay in position. Stay in prayer. Stay in the presence of the one who sees what no one else sees. The world may measure progress by speed and visibility, but God measures it by depth and transformation. You may feel like you're stuck, but what if this stillness is actually God's hand shielding you? What if the delay is not punishment but protection? What if your current obscurity is the cocoon from which greatness will emerge? Do not despise these days of preparation. Do not rush out of the season God is using to mold you. What He is shaping in you now will be the very foundation you'll need when elevation comes. God does not waste pain. Every tear has been noted. Every silent prayer has echoed into the chambers of eternity. And when the time is right, when your spirit has been refined, when your heart has been strengthened, God will release what has been held back. Not because you earned it, but because He promised it. And God keeps His promises. Not one word from His mouth returns empty. When He says He will do it, He will do it. Even if every voice around you insists it is impossible, there is power in believing. When belief no longer seems reasonable, that kind of faith shakes resistance at its roots. It stirs the atmosphere. It draws the miraculous toward you. When others look at ruins, you see a beginning. When others back away in fear, you remain steady in faith. This kind of faith may not make sense to the world, but it moves the hand of God, because it declares, I will not be led by my feelings. I will not be ruled by what I see. I am anchored in the character of God, and He is faithful. It is not about having every answer. It is about trusting the one who holds them. Sometimes the greatest strength is found in quiet surrender, not to loss, but to the will of God. When you release your need to control everything, you make room for God to move in ways beyond your imagination. Let go of your timeline. Loosen your grip on your expectations and allow God to surpass them. He will, when you give Him space. And do not be deceived. Waiting is not weakness. Waiting is warfare. It is one of the strongest declarations of trust a soul can offer. It says, even if it takes longer than I planned, even if others receive before I do, I will not be shaken. I will not envy. I will not fear. I will not doubt. I know God is working, and I will wait until He reveals what He has been preparing. That is strength. That is power. That is how the impossible is conquered, not with striving, but with surrendered persistence. Sometimes God hides His greatest work in plain sight. While you're watching the mountain, He's moving the valley. While you're watching the crowd, He's developing your character. The stage you're asking for may not be ready. Not because you're not capable, but because God is refining something even greater in you. The future He has designed for you is not small. It requires a version of you that is forged in discipline, anchored in humility, and clothed in unwavering faith. And yes, the enemy would love nothing more than to convince you that your wait is worthless, that your obedience is optional, that your faith is foolish. But do not give him that power. He is loud, but he is a liar. He is aggressive, but he is defeated. He thrives on distraction and discouragement, but he has no authority where God has spoken purpose. Resist the urge to give up. Reject the temptation to compare. Your story is being written by the author who has never made a mistake. Let every obstacle be a reminder that God is getting ready to show you what He can do. Let every delay become an altar where you lay down your fears and pick up your faith. Let every setback turn into a stepping stone. Because when God moves, He doesn't just restore what was lost, He multiplies. He doesn't just fix what was broken, He makes it new. He doesn't just open doors, He creates doors where there were none. And when you finally walk through, you'll look back not with bitterness, but with awe. You'll see how every detour was direction, how every heartbreak was healing in disguise, how every turns was making space for the right yes. God does not waste the journey. Even the painful parts are used for your good. You were created for more than just surviving. You were formed by the very hands of the Almighty, and there is something divine encoded in your very breath. Do not settle. Do not shrink. Do not lower your standard to match the comfort of those who fear risk. God made you to rise, and rising often begins in silence, in obscurity, in surrender. The seed dies in the soil before it sprouts in the sun. So embrace the hidden place. Let it be the place where your roots grow deep, so that when your harvest comes, nothing will be able to shake you. God sees what others overlook. He honors what others dismiss. He elevates what the world discredits. The very thing they laughed at in your life, He will use it to lift you. The place they ridiculed you, He will make it the place of your recognition, and not for your pride, but for His glory, so that others may see your life and know it was never by your strength. It was never about your resources. It was God and God alone. And that's the point of the impossible. To bring you to the end of yourself so that the beginning of God can be revealed. To strip away every idol of self-reliance and awaken a desperate dependence on the only one who never fails. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. You are not being left behind. You are being led forward, one silent miracle at a time. So speak to your fear and tell it you don't belong here. Speak to your doubt and tell it you don't define me. Speak to your weariness and tell it you won't stop me, because the God you serve is not intimidated by the size of your mountain. He created the mountain. He controls the wind. He commands the stars. And He knows you by name. The impossible is not your enemy. It is your invitation, your stage, your proving ground. And if you will simply trust, simply hold on, you will see what others only dream of. Not because you're lucky, not because you're special, but because you believed in the face of contradiction, because you held on when it made no sense, because you refused to quit. The night is almost over. The dawn is approaching. And when it breaks, you will not rise in your old identity. You will rise in your divine purpose, and all the world will see the impossible made possible by the one who never lies, never sleeps, never leaves, and never fails. When you feel forgotten by the world, overlooked by the crowd, and dismissed by those you once trusted, remember, God has not forgotten you. The approval of people is fleeting, but the favor of God is eternal. You do not need to be seen by everyone. You only need to be chosen by the one who sees everything. And God sees you. He sees your quiet faith. He sees the strength it takes to keep moving forward. When everything in your life says to turn back, He sees your endurance in the dark and your integrity when no one is watching. And what God sees, He rewards. Not always immediately, but always perfectly. There is a divine rhythm to your life, one that does not follow the pace of this world. God is not in a hurry because He is not uncertain. He is not rushed because He is not restrained. He moves when it is right, not when it is convenient. And when He moves, it's not with noise or confusion. It's with clarity and precision. Your responsibility is not to figure everything out, but to stay aligned with His will. Trust that what He started in your life, He will complete. Not halfway, not almost, but fully. Let go of the urge to predict the path. You may not know how He will do it, but you can rest assured that He will. God doesn't need your blueprint. He works from His own. He doesn't need your understanding. He requires your obedience. And sometimes obedience looks like waiting when you want to run, staying when you want to flee, and believing when you want to doubt. That kind of obedience breaks barriers. It creates openings in realms you cannot see. It moves things in the heavens before anything moves on earth. And while you're waiting, something powerful is happening inside you. Your faith is maturing. Your discernment is sharpening. Your endurance is deepening. Every season of silence is producing strength. Every unanswered question is building trust. This is not the silence of abandonment. This is the silence of preparation. It is in the quiet place that God whispers destiny. It is in the hidden place that He deposits vision. What He is growing inside you cannot be rushed, because what He is preparing for you cannot be small. You are not here by accident. You were not born just to exist, to struggle, and to fade away. You were formed by God on purpose, for purpose, with purpose. There is a divine assignment on your life, and the trials you've endured are evidence of that calling. The weight of the warfare is confirmation of the weight of your anointing. The magnitude of the pressure is confirmation of the magnitude of your impact. God does not allow pain without purpose. He does not allow warfare without a weapon being formed in you. You are being armed in the Spirit to carry what others could not. You are being refined to walk where others gave up. Do not let the pace of others discourage your progress. Your path is not theirs. What takes them a moment may take you years. Not because you're weak, but because what you carry requires depth, endurance, and divine discipline. God is building something in you that cannot be taken lightly. Some doors require more than talent to open. They require transformation. Some victories require more than energy. They require elevation. And God will not promote you to a place where your character cannot sustain you. So let Him continue His work. Let Him shape you in the dark. Let Him mold you in the mystery. You are in the hands of the Master Architect, and He does not make mistakes. Every broken piece, every shattered hope, every painful memory, He is using all of it to build something beautiful. What you thought was the end was only a turn in the journey. What you called failure, God is calling foundation. The storm you went through wasn't sent to destroy you. It was sent to cleanse you, to redirect you, to make you ready. And when God is ready to reveal what He has built in secret, no force in hell and no opinion of man will be able to stop it. When it is time, God will do in moments what you couldn't do in decades. Doors will swing open. Connections will align. Provision will flow. And you'll know it wasn't by chance, it was by God. Not because you manipulated or strategized, but because you trusted and surrendered. God honors the humble. He exalts the surrendered. He rewards the faithful. Do not underestimate what God is doing just because you don't see the full picture. He often hides His greatest works until the appointed time. The seed remains underground long before it sprouts. The roots grow down before the fruit grows up. What you see as stillness is really set up. What you feel as emptiness is preparation for overflow. If God is allowing space, it is because something massive is being formed in that space. And yes, there will be days when you are tempted to believe the lie that says nothing will change. There will be moments when discouragement knocks louder than hope. But you must answer with faith. You must remind yourself that God's Word is not fragile. His promises do not expire. His plan for your life does not waver in the face of adversity. It grows stronger. It deepens. It becomes more refined. God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for persistence. He is not asking you to be flawless. He is asking you to be faithful. Show up when it's hard. Believe when it's painful. Worship when it's silent. Trust when it's confusing. Those are the moments that shift destinies. Those are the moments that shake the spiritual realm. The impossible is not meant to break you. It is meant to elevate your view of God. It is meant to anchor you in the truth that you serve the one who specializes in making a way where there is no way. Your hope is not in your strength, your wisdom, or your resources. Your hope is in God alone, the one who formed the heavens, who rules without rival, who sustains the universe and still knows the number of hairs on your head. If He can orchestrate galaxies, He can handle your situation. If He can order the sunrise, He can guide your next step. If He can give breath to lifeless clay, He can restore your broken spirit. So rise not in arrogance, but in assurance. Rise in the confidence that comes from knowing God is not finished. Rise with the kind of strength that confuses the enemy. Rise with a heart full of fire and a mind anchored in truth. Because no matter what you face, no matter how impossible it seems, the same God who opened the sea, who shook the earth, who sent provision through ravens and streams, is the same God who walks beside you today. Hold your head high, not because life is easy, but because your God is mighty. Walk forward, not because the road is clear, but because your steps are ordered. Speak hope, not because you see the finish line, but because you trust the one who does. Let your life become a declaration of defiance against fear and doubt. Let your faith be louder than your circumstance. Let your trust in God echo through every valley and every mountain, because He will do what He said. He will fulfill what He promised. He will complete what He began. And when He does, it will be greater than you imagine, deeper than you prayed for, and more glorious than you ever dreamed. Just hold on. You must understand, when God chooses to move on your behalf, He doesn't consult your past, your mistakes, or your limitations. God is not bound by what disqualifies you in the eyes of others. He is not swayed by the opinions of those who don't see your value. What discredits you before men does not diminish you before God. When God declares a thing over your life, it stands. It is settled in the unseen long before it manifests in the seen. You may still feel the weight of delay, the sting of rejection, or the silence of unanswered questions. But none of these are signs of defeat. They are signs of preparation. They are signs that God is building something too powerful to be rushed. The fire that's surrounding you isn't meant to destroy, it's meant to refine. The winds that are pushing against you aren't signs that you're in the wrong place. They're evidence that you're in the middle of a shift. God never sends storms without purpose. Sometimes He uses the shaking to remove what you thought you needed. Sometimes He allows the crushing to release what He planted in you. And sometimes He allows everything around you to fall apart, not to punish you, but to prove that your foundation was never in things or people, but in Him alone. Don't be afraid of the process. Don't curse the season of isolation. God often hides those He intends to use greatly. Obscurity is not a curse, it's a covering. While others may chase platforms, God is building a palace of strength within your soul. While others may seek applause, God is anchoring your identity in something far more eternal. He is building substance over style, depth over display. And when it is time, what He has prepared in secret will be undeniable in the open. But you must endure the hidden place with faith, with integrity, and with unwavering trust in His timing. There are seasons when God will strip everything away. Not because He is cruel, but because He is clearing the clutter so you can finally hear Him clearly. We fill our lives with distractions, noise, and dependencies. And then we wonder why we feel lost, confused, or anxious. Sometimes God has to take away the temporary comforts so we can run back to the eternal source. And when we do, we rediscover a power that was never meant to be found in circumstances, but only in God Himself. What you're facing right now, this impossibility, this burden, this crossroad, it's not a punishment, it is an altar. It is a place where your dependence on God is being tested, not to break you, but to build you. It's easy to praise God when things are going right, but true strength is found when you lift your head and declare His greatness while you're still surrounded by the unknown. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of trust activates divine intervention. Don't underestimate what happens when you stay faithful in the unseen. Every morning you choose to rise in hope, heaven records it. Every tear you cry in the quiet hours, God counts them. Every time you worship through pain, believe through disappointment, or give thanks in uncertainty, you are sowing seeds into a future only God can water. And in His appointed time, those seeds will break through the ground and bloom into blessings you never saw coming. You may not feel qualified. You may feel like you're too broken, too late, or too far gone. But God specializes in taking what the world throws away and raising it up as a testimony. The cracks in your life are not flaws. They are the very places His light will shine through. The pain you've endured is not your end. It is the beginning of a deeper calling. God does not use the strong as the world sees strength. He uses the surrendered. He uses the ones who, despite the wounds and the weariness, still whisper, "Here I am." If you knew what God was about to release into your life, you wouldn't doubt another day. If you could see the favor being prepared, the people being aligned, the opportunities being formed, the protection that's already in motion, you would be speechless in awe of His sovereignty. But this journey requires trust, not previews. It requires belief, not full understanding. You walk by trust, not by certainty. And with each step, even the smallest one, you are moving closer to the fulfillment of everything God has spoken over you. There will be times when your surroundings contradict your spirit. Your eyes will see delay, but your spirit will feel destiny. Your ears will hear doubt, but your heart will echo hope. And in those moments, you must choose what voice you follow. Will you be guided by fear, or will you stand on the truth that God cannot lie? Will you surrender to what you feel, or will you be anchored in what you know? That God is faithful, that He is near, that He is mighty to save. Stop looking at your life through the lens of limitation. Start seeing it through the eyes of God's promise. You were not made to be average. You were not created to simply exist. You carry purpose, you carry power, you carry a calling that cannot be muted by delay, failure, or opposition. And the very fact that you're still breathing means God is not finished with you. Your story is still being written. The ink has not dried. The final chapter is not yet read. Don't close the book just because this page is hard. Let the challenges sharpen your focus. Let the pain deepen your compassion. Let the struggle awaken your strength. What you overcome now will become the wisdom you pour into others. What you survive in this season will become the path you offer to someone else when they are lost in the storm. You are not only receiving a blessing, you are being shaped to become a blessing. You are not only being restored, you are being prepared to help bring restoration to others. Every trial becomes a tool. Every fire becomes a refining place. Every delay becomes a divine arrangement. So rise up, brush off the dust of doubt, quiet the voices of fear, and stand with holy fire burning within you, not because the journey is easy, but because the one walking beside you is greater than anything ahead. You are not walking alone. You are not left to chaos or chance. You are supported, directed, and strengthened by the hand of the Almighty. The same power that holds the stars in place is actively working in your life. Let your life testify to that power. Let your endurance speak. Let your faith shift the atmosphere. Because there is a moment coming, closer than you realize, when what you have been holding on for will suddenly break through. And when it happens, you will look back and understand that every second of waiting had meaning. Every season of silence was filled with sacred preparation. Every closed door was guiding you toward a greater opening. God will do what seems impossible. He will create a way. He will bring His word to completion. Just hold on. God is preparing to reveal your enemies right before your eyes. You may not recognize it yet. You may not fully understand it now. But there is movement in the unseen, a divine unveiling already in motion. The same people who smiled in your face, the same ones who applauded your fall, the ones who hid behind the mask of friendship while plotting behind your back, God is about to expose them, not in private, in plain view, not quietly, but openly. For far too long you have walked among those who hoped for your downfall while pretending loyalty. Hear this clearly. When God acts, no lie can survive, no deception can endure, no enemy can remain hidden. God was never blind to what they did. He never missed what was spoken behind closed doors. Every whisper in the shadows, every scheme meant to steal your peace, every trap set in secret, God recorded it all. The Creator of heaven and earth does not sleep, does not forget, and does not overlook. He saw every tear you shed in silence. He knows how you restrained your words while betrayal burned deep within you. He watched you endure storms you did not deserve, battles you never started, and wounds inflicted by those you trusted most. And now is the moment God rises. Now is the season when truth will thunder, and everything hidden will be brought into the light. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to prove your innocence or explain your pain. God is your defender. God is your witness. And when God speaks on your behalf, no accusation can stand. When He lifts His hand, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. When He opens His mouth, every tongue that rose against you in judgment shall fall. God is about to expose every plot. He is about to unravel every scheme. He is about to strip the enemy of their mask and show the world who they truly are. The same mouths that gossiped about you will be silenced. The same hands that tried to block your blessings will be powerless to stop what God is doing. The same hearts that hated your progress will be forced to witness your rise. God prepares a table, not in secret places, but in the presence of your enemies. And when that table is prepared, when the oil is poured out, when the favor rains down, your enemies will not be able to deny it. They will see it. They will hear of it. and they will be witnesses to the glory of God in your life. There's a divine reason why some people stayed in your life. Not because God wanted them close, but because He wanted them to witness what He's about to do through you. He kept them in the room so they could watch the miracle. He let them stay near so their mouths would be shut by His power, not by your words. You thought their presence was a mistake, but God was positioning you. You thought their betrayal was a setback, but it was a setup. God uses even the wicked for His purpose. He lets the enemy speak so His justice will be louder. He lets them rise so their fall will reveal His might. Don't be afraid of who is against you. Don't tremble because of the crowd that walks against your peace. God is not outnumbered. He doesn't need majority opinion to declare your victory. All it takes is one word from God to reverse every lie. One moment of His truth will shake the foundations of every false accusation. One act of His judgment will silence every voice that rose to destroy you. The same people who mocked your silence will tremble at God's response. The same ones who mistook your quietness for weakness will witness the strength of your defender. The fire you walk through, God allowed it not to destroy you, but to refine you. The betrayal you endured, God permitted it not to break you, but to bless you. The loneliness you experienced, it was never abandonment, it was separation for elevation. God pulled you away from what was unclean, what was untrue, and what was ungodly. And now He's preparing to lift you up, not in secret corners, but in full view. And when He does, your enemies will have no choice but to acknowledge the hand of God on your life. They tried to bury your name, but they didn't know that you were a seed. And now, by God's power, you are rising, stronger, wiser, sharper. You are not who they left behind. You are not who they lied about. You are not the broken soul they thought they had defeated. You are a living testimony that God raises the lowly and brings down the proud. You are a walking sign that those who plot against the righteous will fall into their own traps, and you are about to stand on ground your enemies thought they destroyed. You don't have to scream. You don't have to curse. You don't have to waste time trying to explain yourself to people who already made up their minds. Let God speak for you. Let God show them what they couldn't see. Let Him reveal the purity of your heart and the power of His protection. Because when God exposes, it's not for shame, it's for justice. And His justice is perfect. His timing is precise. He may not come when you want Him, but when He arrives, He comes with fire. Some of you have been waiting years for vindication, years of being misunderstood, years of watching others paint your name with lies, years of silent suffering. But I came to tell you, your wait is not in vain. The time is near when the truth will speak. The time is near when every hidden motive will be laid bare. The time is near when God will make it known who was real and who was faking it. He will do it in such a way that you won't have to lift a single finger. He will cause the truth to scream so loud your enemies will not be able to deny it. And when God does it, He will do it in a way that humbles the proud. He will do it in a way that causes the arrogant to bow their heads in shame. Those who once thought they held power over you will realize they were never in control. Those who tried to manipulate and destroy, you will see the hand of God intervene. God will remove the veil, and all will see clearly. The ones who falsely accused you will face their own words. The ones who ganged up against you will scatter, not by your doing, but by God's justice. Do not seek revenge. That is not your assignment. Your assignment is to remain faithful. Your assignment is to keep walking in obedience. Your assignment is to trust that God's eyes are on every injustice. He is not slow. He is not silent. He is waiting for the appointed time, because when He moves, it will be undeniable. He does not just expose for exposure's sake. He exposes to exalt the one who remained faithful in the fire. He exposes to uplift the one who chose silence over slander, purity over pettiness, and faith over frustration. There are people right now watching your life like a show. They are hoping you fail. They are expecting your downfall. But what they don't realize is that the more they watch, the more they will witness God's favor. They will see doors open that no man can shut. They will see promotions, opportunities, and miracles unfold, not because you fought for them, but because God honored your character. And that is what He is about to reveal. Your character in contrast to their deception. Your patience against their plotting. Your sincerity against their schemes. And in that contrast, the truth will be blinding. God is separating the wheat from the tares. He is pulling back the curtain and showing the difference between those who are His and those who only pretend. And if you've been suffering silently, if you've been walking through betrayal and smiling through pain, know this: God kept you hidden for a reason. He was preserving you, not punishing you. He was covering you, not ignoring you. And now, as He removes the mask from your enemies, He will also uncover your destiny. Their exposure will be your elevation. Their fall will be your rising. You will not have to beg anyone to believe you. You will not have to convince anyone of your worth. When God exposes, He also exalts. He will lift you above the noise, above the lies, above the accusations, not because you're perfect, but because you trusted Him when it hurt. You remained loyal when others betrayed. You stayed humble when you could have retaliated. And for that, God is about to reward you, not just privately, but publicly. They thought they buried you with their lies, but they didn't know that God was planting you for a greater purpose. They laughed at your silence. They mistook your patience for weakness. They gathered in secret rooms, made alliances, and drew up plans, but not one of them included the one who holds the final say. And now they will learn what it means when God defends His servant. The storm you walk through was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to position you, so that when God exposes your enemies, no one will be able to deny that it was His hand that lifted you. God allowed the betrayal, not because He abandoned you, but because He wanted to reveal what you could not see on your own. Sometimes God will let the enemy speak just long enough to build a case against themselves. He will let them dig the pit so deep they fall in it without your help. That's why you didn't need to respond. That's why you didn't need to argue. That's why your silence was more powerful than any retaliation, because God was watching. And when God is watching, nothing is wasted. Your tears were not wasted. Your pain was not wasted. Your loneliness was not wasted. It all became evidence in the courtroom of heaven. You see, when God begins to expose, He doesn't just remove the veil, He shatters it. He reveals not only what was said, but why it was said. He exposes not just what they did, but the darkness that was in their heart when they did it. And when God reveals truth, He does so with clarity, with justice, and with timing that makes the proud tremble. Some of you have been sitting at tables you didn't know were poisoned. Some of you have been calling enemies your friends simply because they wore the right words but had the wrong spirit. But God is about to cleanse your space. He's about to reveal the wolves that wore the skin of sheep. And when He does, you will not be left in confusion. You will see it for what it is. And you will give glory to God for saving you just in time. This is not just about revenge. This is about God's righteousness being revealed. This is about justice rolling down like mighty waters. Because the same God who sees in secret is the God who rewards in public. The same God who kept you in the fire is the God who is about to bring you out with power. And those who watched, those who whispered, those who tried to stain your name, they will have no choice but to watch what happens when God justifies His servant. You won't have to prove your innocence. God will do it. You won't have to clear your name. God will write it in favor before their very eyes. Some of you are in a season where everything seems quiet. Too quiet. It feels like nothing is moving. No one is speaking up for you, and you're surrounded by silence. But don't confuse God's silence with absence. God works in silence. God exposes in His own time. And while your enemies think they've won, while they celebrate too soon, God is preparing a divine interruption. The trap they set for you is the one they'll fall into. The words they use to break you will become the very chains that bind their own pride. God does not forget the oppressed. God does not forsake the innocent. And when He acts, He does so with authority that shakes the earth and silences the arrogant. Stay in position. Don't shift your values trying to match their venom. Don't lower your standards just to get even. Your power is not in retaliation. It's in your connection with God. Your strength is not in shouting back. It's in trusting that God will lift you when the time is right. And that time is coming. The tables are about to turn. The light is about to expose the shadows. The truth is about to speak so loud it will drown every lie that was ever spoken against you. You may not have the platform they had. You may not have the influence or the audience. But when God is for you, you don't need applause to be affirmed. You don't need validation from people to know who you are. And the same mouths that lied about you will be forced to speak the truth. The same people who walked away will look back and wonder how you made it. And they will know it was God. Not your strength, not your strategies, not your charm, but the favor of God that covered you while they tried to bury you. God is peeling back the layers. He's cleaning your circle. He's removing the ones who came with words but no loyalty, presence but no purity. He's stripping away the actors and revealing the real. And you must be ready, not just for the exposure of your enemies, but for the repositioning of your destiny. Because when the false is removed, the true begins to rise. The distractions that were sent to delay, you will no longer have access. The voices that tried to confuse, you will no longer have reach. God is making space. God is making room. He's pruning, not punishing. He's refining, not rejecting. And when it's over, you'll be surrounded not by enemies, but by divine alignment. Do not be discouraged if the crowd gets smaller. Do not be surprised if familiar faces turn unfamiliar. Sometimes the greatest revelation comes when God clears out what you were never meant to carry into your next season, and the exposure you feared. It's necessary, because what God is preparing you for cannot be built on lies. What God is calling you into cannot be tainted by deception. So He will cleanse the ground before He builds the platform. He will expose the fake before He establishes the real. Let them talk. Let them conspire. Let them gather. But they will fall. not because of you, but because they oppose the purpose of the Almighty God. And when you rise, you will rise with peace, not bitterness. You will rise with joy, not revenge. You will rise with a testimony that echoes through every room they tried to lock you out of. Because when God does it, it's undeniable, it's unstoppable, and it's final. This moment is bigger than you. It's about showing the world that God will never allow His faithful to be devoured. He will let the snake slither, but only long enough for the trap to snap shut. He will let the storm rage, but only so He can calm it in front of those who doubted your survival. He will let the arrows fly, but not one will land where He has covered, because those who walk with God never walk alone. And when the enemy thinks he's hidden, God opens the heavens and reveals it all. You must understand, when God begins to move, He does so with a purpose that no human hand can hinder. His justice is not delayed, it is precise. His timing is not rushed, it is perfect. Many times God allows things to unfold in silence, so that when He acts, His power is undeniable. There are moments when it looks like the wicked are winning, when it seems like deception is thriving and truth is forgotten. But those moments are not evidence of God's absence. They are proof of His patience. And that patience is never passive. God is allowing the enemy to build the very platform that He will use to bring about their downfall. He is letting them stack their lies so high so that when truth comes crashing through, it will be like thunder upon dry ground, loud, sudden, and unforgettable. God is not intimidated by darkness. He does not retreat in the face of evil. Instead, He waits until the darkness is fully exposed so that His light will shine even brighter. And in that moment, your enemies, those who plotted, those who smiled in your presence but cursed your name in your absence, will find themselves trembling in confusion, not because of your retaliation, but because of God's revelation. God will reveal their intentions. He will expose their hearts. And He will do it in such a way that their own words will turn against them. They will try to explain. They will try to run. But truth, God's truth, will chase them down and silence every argument. Do not lose hope when it seems like wickedness is flourishing. Even in the ancient times, the people of God cried out, "Why do the evil prosper?" But God always answers in due season. The wicked may rise, but they will not remain. The deceiver may speak, but his voice will not endure. God brings low those who lift themselves in arrogance, and He exalts those who humble themselves before Him. That is the law of His justice. And if you have remained faithful, if you have walked with integrity even when no one applauded you, if you have chosen to stay silent when slander surrounded you, God has not forgotten you. In fact, He has been preparing a divine vindication that will cause every eye to see and every tongue to pause. You are not forgotten in the shadows. You are not hidden from God's sight. Sometimes God hides you to protect you. Sometimes He places you in isolation so He can strengthen your spirit and prepare your platform. Exposure is not always about your enemies being revealed. It's also about your purpose being unlocked. As God removes those who were never for you, He is also opening space for those who are divinely assigned to walk with you. You don't need a crowd, you need a calling. And when the wrong people exit, the right path becomes clear. Be patient. Stay the course. The pain of betrayal is real, yes, but the reward of endurance is greater. There is no betrayal God cannot heal. There is no slander He cannot reverse. and there is no weapon formed against you that can succeed, when your faith is in the one who created all things. Your enemies may gather, but their unity will collapse under the weight of divine justice. They may shout your name with disgrace today, but soon they will be speechless as God raises you up, not to boast, not to return evil, but to testify that God still reigns over every word, every wound, and every wicked plot. Do not envy what looks like their success. Do not crave their popularity. God is not moved by appearances. He weighs the heart. And when He exposes, it is not done with cruelty, it is done with precision. Every lie will be revealed for what it is. Every hidden motive will be brought into the light. Every false alliance will be cut away. And when everything settles, what remains will be what was true from the start. Your trust in God, your obedience, your perseverance. Everything else will be carried off like chaff before the wind. Stay rooted. Storms may shake the branches, but those planted in faith will not be uprooted. When others panic, you will stand. When others scatter, you will remain planted. Because your strength is not built on what people say, it is built on who God is. He is your shield. He is your refuge. He is your righteous judge. And when He speaks, every lie must bow to truth. Sometimes God allows false people to stay near you, not to destroy you, but to serve His purpose. He let them speak so He could prove them wrong. He let them rise so that their fall would point back to His glory. The ones who wanted your position will be humbled. The ones who tried to shame you will see your elevation. Because God does not build on broken foundations. He tears down the false so He can establish the true. And when He starts building, not even hell itself can stop the structure. Let your heart stay pure. Don't let their evil poison your spirit. Don't let bitterness take root. That's what the enemy wants, to provoke you into reacting in the flesh. But your victory is in restraint. Your power is in stillness. Because when you do nothing, and God does everything, the result is undeniable. He will cause your light to shine so brightly that even your enemies will be forced to see it. They won't be able to deny that the hand of God is on you. They may not admit it with their mouths, but their silence will speak volumes. This exposure is not about destruction, it's about distinction. God is making it clear who belongs to Him and who is merely pretending. He is drawing a line between the righteous and the wicked, the sincere and the scheming. And when that line is drawn, you will be found on the side of favor. Not because you were perfect, but because you trusted. Not because you never cried, but because you never cursed Him in your pain. Not because you were never attacked, but because you refused to fight your battles alone. And know this, when the season of exposure arrives, it may be uncomfortable. It may hurt to see the truth. But healing only comes when the wound is fully revealed. God does not expose to embarrass. He exposes to cleanse. He reveals to purify. And after the exposure comes restoration. After the truth comes the lifting. After the unveiling comes the blessing. This is not your ending. This is your emergence. What they meant for evil, God is about to turn for good. And those who plotted against you will become stepping stones beneath your feet. Walk boldly. Stand tall. The one who called you is faithful. The one who sees the unseen will make all things right. Let the noise rage. Let the rumors spread. Let the critics gather. Because when God moves, every noise will be silenced. Every rumor will be reversed, and every critic will be confounded. This is the hour where truth rises. This is the moment where the faithful are revealed. This is the season where God exposes the hidden and elevates the humble. And when it happens, remember this: it was never about revenge. It was never about being right in the eyes of people. It was always about the glory of God. He alone takes credit. He alone gets the honor. And He alone has the power to take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into the foundation for your next victory. You see, when God decides to act, there is no force in the heavens or the earth that can delay Him. His arm is never too short to save, and His timing is never too late. What may feel like delay to you is divine preparation. What may look like silence is God arranging every detail to bring forth the truth in a way that shakes the foundation of lies. He does not rush, for when God moves, He does so with power, with perfection, and with purpose. And when He exposes, He leaves no stone unturned, not to shame you, but to lift you, not to crush your enemies, but to remind them that mocking the obedient never ends well. There is a moment in the life of every person chosen by God when separation becomes necessary. God separates to sanctify. He removes so He can reveal. And often He'll allow you to walk through betrayal so that you can see the hearts of those you thought were for you. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. God is not exposing your enemies to hurt you. He is doing it to cleanse your path. Because where He's taking you, deception cannot follow. Where He's positioning you, hidden enemies cannot sit. And when He begins to elevate you, He will do it in a way that reveals to everyone watching that it was not man, not luck, not influence, but God alone who brought you out of the shadows and into the light. Don't mistake comfort for favor. Some people are around you not because they care for you, but because they are comfortable hiding in your light. And the moment you grow, the moment you break forward, the moment you begin to shine brighter than what they can handle, that's when the jealousy shows. That's when the envy begins to leak out. But here is where God intervenes. He will not let you be surrounded by secret poison. He will not let the impure sit at your table forever. He will allow time to pass. But when the hour strikes, truth will thunder, and your enemies will be revealed, not by your hand, but by His divine exposure. God is righteous. He is just, and His justice is not like the justice of man. Man may ignore truth for convenience. People may turn blind eyes to preserve relationships. But God will never forsake truth. And when He acts, He tears through pretense like a storm tears through a quiet night. That's why some of you have felt uneasy lately. That's why some relationships feel strained. That's why your spirit can no longer find rest around certain people. It's not paranoia, it's discernment. God is pulling back the veil, and your soul is catching a glimpse before your eyes can see it. Don't ignore the warning signs. Don't silence the whisper of discernment, because what your heart feels, God is about to reveal. Your journey has not been in vain. Your struggles were not wasted. God uses every battle to build the blueprint of your testimony. The enemy thought he could use people to sabotage you. He thought lies could destroy your calling. But he forgot one thing. When God places His hand on someone, no slander can erase that mark. You are not defined by their opinions. You are not limited by their schemes. You are called, and those who are truly called are preserved by the hand of God, even in the midst of fire. There is a sacred power in being silent while others speak lies. There is a holy strength in refusing to fight back when you are falsely accused. It takes more faith to trust in God's justice than to lash out with your own. But God sees that restraint. He sees the way you've endured humiliation with dignity. He sees how you've kept your hands clean while others tried to soil your name. And He is not unjust to forget it. He is not blind to your quiet suffering. In fact, your silence has been your loudest praise. Your endurance has been your greatest offering. And for that, God is getting ready to reward you in a way that will leave no room for doubt. The season is shifting. What was hidden is about to come to light. God is flipping the script. The same stage where they tried to disgrace you will become the platform where God displays your restoration. The same people who tried to silence you will be present when your name is spoken with honor. And God will do it so clearly, so powerfully, so openly, that there will be no question this was not the work of man, but the work of God. And when it happens, when the veil is torn and the truth stands alone in its brilliance, do not gloat. Do not let pride sneak in where humility should dwell. For the same God who exposes is the God who expects holiness from the one He vindicates. Your rise is not for revenge. It is for testimony. Your victory is not for personal gain. It is for the glory of the one who brought you through every fire. So walk humbly. Honor God in your elevation, the same way you honored Him in your trial. Remember, the exposure of your enemies is only part of the process. The greater miracle is what God does in you through that exposure. He doesn't just remove them, He refines you. He strengthens your discernment. He sharpens your wisdom. He deepens your intimacy with Him. Because the higher He takes you, the more you must rely on His guidance. The more visibility He gives you, the more responsibility He places on your shoulders. So allow the pain to make you wiser. Let the betrayal teach you who to trust. Let the storm make you still. You may not understand why it had to happen this way. You may wonder why God didn't stop the lies before they spread, why He didn't remove the enemies before they attacked. But what you call delay, God calls demonstration. He let them speak so He could silence them with truth. He let them gather so He could scatter them with one word. He let the trap be set so that when it failed, the world would see that no weapon formed against you can prosper, not when you walk under His covering, His command, His protection. So stand still. Watch. Wait. Your vindication is on the horizon. Your name is about to be spoken with honor again, not because people changed their minds, but because God changed the atmosphere. He's about to announce you. He's about to silence the lies. And those who mocked you in the night will watch your breakthrough in the daylight. Their confusion will be your clarity. Their plotting will become your promotion. And their rejection will become the reason God lifts you up higher than you ever imagined. Because when God exposes, He doesn't do it halfway. He lays every secret bare. He removes every mask. He untangles every web. And in the place of deception, He plants truth that cannot be uprooted. In the place of betrayal, He places favor that cannot be stolen. And in the place of disgrace, He clothes you with honor that no man can take away. So let them speak. Let them whisper. Let them plot. For God hears every word. He sees every motive, and He is about to act. Not for your ego, but for His glory. not to settle your score, but to establish His truth. And when it happens, every eye will see, every ear will hear, and every mouth will be silenced. For this is not just your vindication. This is God's declaration that no lie, no enemy, no shadow can prevail where His truth and power reign. God is the knower of every whispered word, the witness to every secret deed, and the ultimate judge of every heart. His knowledge encompasses the plots formed in darkness, the lies spread in silence, and the deceit hidden behind smiles. You may walk into a room and not know who truly stands with you, but God knows. God discerns the thoughts of the proud before they even speak. He sees beyond the surface, and because His vision is perfect, He will not allow deception to reign forever. He may permit it for a time to test your heart, to build your strength, and to prepare the moment. But He will not allow the liar to triumph over the faithful. You have been quiet for long enough, not because you were weak, but because you were wise. You didn't retaliate because you trusted in God's justice. You didn't fight fire with fire because you knew vengeance belongs only to Him. And because you chose the higher road, God is now stepping into your situation with power. He is rising in your defense, not with noise, but with unshakable authority. The very ground where your name was trampled is about to become the place where your name is restored. And no one will be able to deny that it was God who turned the story around. Some of the people who wronged you knew exactly what they were doing. They were deliberate. They were cruel. They were calculating. They tested your patience. They provoked your spirit. They tried to make you break, just to prove to others that you were not who you claimed to be. But here is the truth. You didn't break. You bent, but you didn't fall. You wept, but you didn't curse. You trembled, but you never left the presence of God. And now, because of your endurance, because of your faith, because you held on to what was right, even when it cost you everything, God is about to raise you up and show the world what happens. When someone trusts Him in the fire, God is not unjust. He has seen it all. The conversations behind your back, the schemes that tried to push you out, the slander that made others question your character. But instead of responding in anger, you brought your pain to God. Instead of defending yourself, you let God defend you. And now, the same people who once said, "Where is your God?" will have no words when they see what God is about to do in your life. For the hand of God will speak louder than any voice, and His truth will silence every lie. And when He exposes, He doesn't just point out the wrong, He reveals the truth with such clarity that even those who once doubted you will be moved to remorse. He makes it so plain, so undeniable, that those who sat in judgment will lower their heads in shame. The same ones who believed the lies will see the real you, the one God always saw. And they will know they were wrong, not because you shouted, not because you argued, but because God made it plain in His own perfect time. Some of you were wondering why the attack came from those closest to you, why the betrayal didn't come from strangers, but from those you once held in your heart. Let me tell you, it had to be close so that the lesson would go deep. It had to hurt so that the healing would be real. God allowed it to come through familiar hands so that when He raises you up, you'll never place your trust in man again. You'll place it in Him alone. He's teaching you that not all who are with you are for you. And not every smiling face is filled with good intentions. But even through that pain, He is not punishing you, He is purifying you. He is cutting away the counterfeit connections. He is burning away the false alliances. He is removing the people who are only there for the image, the attention, the control. Because the next season of your life cannot be contaminated by hidden snakes. And in this next season, your circle will shrink, but your strength will grow. Your influence will rise, but your dependence will be on God alone. You won't need to chase after clarity. God will bring it to your doorstep. You won't need to knock down any doors. God will open the ones that matter and close the ones that were never meant for you. You've been walking through a season of confusion, not because you were doing something wrong, but because you were surrounded by people who didn't deserve access to your promise. God had to allow the discomfort to protect your destiny. He had to let the betrayal push you closer to Him. And now, because you've remained under His covering, because you've humbled yourself and refused to compromise, He is about to honor you in the presence of those who dishonored you. The most powerful part of exposure is not what is revealed about your enemies. It's what is revealed about you. God is showing the world that you didn't lose your way. You didn't let bitterness take over. You didn't allow vengeance to poison your purpose. And now He is showing that what you carried in secret, patience, strength, integrity, is about to be displayed in public. You are being revealed as someone who belongs to God, not just by your words, but by your endurance. This exposure is holy. It is sacred. It is not for revenge. It is for the glory of God. It is not a performance. It is a divine unveiling. And those who once overlooked you will see clearly. Those who once dismissed you will wonder how they missed the hand of God on your life. The tables are turning, the truth is rising, and God is the one orchestrating it all. So don't be surprised when those who betrayed you begin to fall under the weight of their own deceit. Don't be shocked when the very systems that tried to suppress you begin to crumble. It is not your doing, it is the justice of God. So stay low before God. Keep your heart pure. Keep your motives clean. Don't rejoice in the downfall of others, but give thanks that God is not mocked. Give thanks that He vindicates those who trust Him. Give thanks that while people may fail you, God never will. Because in the end, it is not about who lied, who left, or who laughed. It is about who stood, who waited, and who trusted in the name of the one who holds all truth in His grasp. God is not finished yet. He is still working. He is still speaking. And His next move in your life will cause even the most skeptical heart to pause. They will say, "Surely God was with this one all along." And you will know every tear had purpose. Every delay had design. Every betrayal had divine meaning. Because the exposure of your enemies was never the end. It was just the beginning of your rise. And now God is saying, stand firm. Be still. Watch what I will do. I have seen the darkness, and I will bring the light. I have heard the lies, and I will declare the truth. I have watched the schemes, and I will destroy them. For I am your defender, your witness, your righteous judge, and I will not let the wicked triumph over the faithful. This is your season of divine exposure, and when it unfolds, the only name that will deserve the glory is the name of God, the Most High, the All-Knowing, the Most Just. Let every heart that trusted in Him be strengthened. Let every spirit that waited on Him be lifted. because when God moves, He leaves no doubt. And now, as you stand at the edge of this divine turning point, take a deep breath and remember, God has seen it all. Not one lie escaped His hearing. Not one act of betrayal slipped past His vision. Not one moment of your quiet suffering went unnoticed. And now the time has come. The season of silence is drawing to a close. The season of revelation has arrived. The voices that once spoke against you will be silenced. The hands that once worked to hinder you will fall still, because God Himself is about to speak. You will not have to defend yourself. God will stand as your defense. You will not have to prove your value. God will establish you before those who doubted. The same ones who tried to bury your name will witness a rising they never imagined. Not because you fought on your own behalf, but because you trusted the one who fights for you. When God exposes, it will be undeniable. When He vindicates, it will be complete. When He lifts you up, no one will be able to pull you down. So walk in peace. Let your heart remain steady. God has already gone ahead of you. His justice does not fail. His wisdom does not err. His timing is flawless. This is more than your vindication. It is the revealing of God's glory through your life. Let every trial you endured become a testimony. Let every tear turn into a seed of victory. And when the truth stands fully revealed, let the only name lifted high be the name of God alone, the defender of the innocent, the revealer of truth, and the restorer of all who wait on Him. Stand still and witness the salvation of God. It is coming, and nothing will be able to stop it. When God closes a door, He is opening something greater. And the moment your soul truly accepts that, your life begins to move toward divine purpose. So much of our time is spent staring at doors that will not open, knocking on opportunities that no longer belong to us, weeping over relationships that have run their course, pleading for positions that were never meant to last, mourning seasons that God Himself has already brought to an end. But hear this today. Let it sink deep into your spirit. When God closes a door, it is not punishment, it is preparation. It is not rejection, it is redirection. It is not an ending, it is the beginning of something far stronger, far more beautiful, and far more aligned with your destiny than anything you could have imagined. Some of you are standing in front of a closed door right now, wounded, confused, asking why it had to shut. Maybe it was a relationship you believed would last forever, a career you poured your heart into, or a dream you carried for years only to watch it fade away. And you are standing there with trembling hands on the handle, whispering, "Why, God? Why would you close this?" Listen carefully. If God allowed it to close, it was no longer needed for the next chapter of your life. If God sealed it shut, then what was behind it was not a blessing. It was a burden He spared you from. Let that truth pierce your soul. What you thought was loss, God calls mercy. What you call heartbreak, God calls protection. And what you call the end, God calls the beginning. You must understand that God never shuts a door out of cruelty. God doesn't slam a door in your face to see you suffer. No, when God closes a door, He does it with perfect wisdom and perfect timing. He does it because He sees what you cannot see. He knows the traps ahead. He sees the betrayals that haven't yet been revealed. He knows the motives of the people you trust. He knows what's real and what's fake, what's divine and what's destructive. So He closes the door not to hurt you, but to help you. Not to punish you, but to promote you. Not to silence you, but to protect your purpose. Let that truth thunder in your bones. God is not the author of confusion. He is the master of clarity. If the door closed, it's because it no longer leads to where God is taking you. And hear this deep in your soul: God doesn't just close doors, He orchestrates them. He doesn't just allow exits, He designs them. God isn't waiting on you to understand the reason. He's waiting on you to trust His decision. Faith isn't about having answers. Faith is about walking with God even when the answers aren't clear. Faith is clinging to the promise when the plan makes no sense. Faith is believing that God's way is better. Even when it costs you comfort, even when it costs you familiarity, even when it costs you the very thing you thought you couldn't live without. Some of the greatest blessings you'll ever receive will first come disguised as disappointment. But what looks like disappointment in the natural is often deliverance in the spiritual. The people who left you, deliverance. The job that let you go, deliverance. The opportunity that slipped through your fingers, deliverance. Why? Because if it were meant for you, God would have sustained it. If it were divine, God would have made a way. But when something is removed from your life, you must believe with every fiber of your being that God is making room for something greater. God never subtracts without preparing to multiply. He never removes without preparing to replace. And what He brings next will always exceed what was lost. Stop standing in front of doors that God has locked. Stop weeping in the hallway of the past. Stop begging for access where God has revoked permission. Your destiny is not behind you, it's in front of you. And until you let go of what God has shut, you cannot embrace what He is about to open. You cannot grab hold of the new thing if your hands are still clinging to the old. God is doing something new, something fresh, something unexpected. But the old must go first. The comfort must be shaken. The idols must be broken. The attachments must be released. Why? Because if you keep dragging the old into the new, you'll contaminate what God is trying to purify. Now hear this. It's not just about doors that close in the physical. Sometimes God closes doors in your mind, doors in your emotions, doors in your spirit, doors that kept you tied to fear, bitterness, shame, and regret. God will close the door to anxiety. He will close the door to guilt. He will shut down the voices of doubt. He will silence the noise of your past. And when He does, it's not so you suffer in silence. It's so you learn how to walk in strength. God wants you to move in confidence. He wants you to rise with courage. He wants you to understand that when you are His, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand against the power of His plan. Some of you have been praying, God, open the door. And He's been saying, no, my child, I had to close it. Because what's on the other side would have broken you. It would have distracted you. It would have stolen your peace, delayed your purpose, and drained your anointing. You think it was good, but God knew it was toxic. You thought it was your future, but God knew it was a trap, so He shut it. And now you sit there wondering why. But what if I told you this door that slammed shut in your life was the very proof that God is still guiding you? That His hand is still on your journey? that you're still under His divine protection. So don't resent the door that closed. Thank God for it. Praise Him for the ones He didn't let you walk through. Worship Him for the things He withheld. Glorify Him for the prayers He didn't answer. Because if you could see what He saved you from, you'd fall to your knees in gratitude. You'd cry out not for what you lost, but for the love that wouldn't let you settle. God loves you too much to let you stay where He's not. He cares too much to leave you in places that are beneath your calling. So He shuts doors not to destroy your hope, but to direct it. God doesn't operate in confusion. When He closes something, He has already prepared something better. But it will require your faith. It will require your surrender. It will require you to trust the unseen more than the seen, to believe in His whispers more than in your own fears, and to wait with bold expectation, not desperation. Don't treat God like He's late. Don't treat Him like He forgot you. God has never been late a day in His existence. When He moves with perfect precision. What seems like delay is often preparation. What seems like silence is often strategy. And what seems like absence is actually the greatest act of presence, because He's working behind the scenes in the places your eyes cannot see. Let this truth thunder in your heart. If you are walking with God, no closed door can stop what He has ordained. No rejection can block what He has assigned. No betrayal can cancel what He has spoken. And no setback can override His promise. The enemy may try to convince you that the closed door is the end. But God says, I am the one who holds the keys. He opens doors no man can shut, and shuts doors no man can open. That's the kind of power God walks in. That's the kind of authority He holds, and that's the kind of assurance you must carry in your spirit. Now I'm speaking to someone who feels forgotten, someone who feels like life has passed you by. You've watched others receive their blessing while your door stayed locked. You've watched others get promoted while you remain stuck, and your heart is tempted to believe that God has skipped over you. But I came to tell you, your door is not forgotten. Your season is not denied. God hasn't closed the door because He hates you. He's closed it because He's preserving you. He's building something bigger. He's designing something deeper. And when He finally opens that door, it will make sense why all the others had to be shut. You'll look back and praise Him, not for what opened, but for what didn't. God's doors are not about speed. They're about purpose. Some doors are slow to open because the foundation isn't ready. God isn't trying to delay you. He's trying to develop you. He's not denying your destiny. He's strengthening your spirit. He's forging your character, refining your desires, and testing your faith. Because when the door does open, He doesn't want you to walk through it weak. He wants you to walk through it bold. He wants you to step into it prepared. He wants you to possess the blessing, not be destroyed by it. And that kind of readiness requires closed doors, silent seasons, and lonely nights. So don't be afraid of the shut door. It is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is your signal that God is shifting things in your life. It is your proof that He's preparing a new way. And if you could see what's coming, you'd understand why the old door had to shut. You'd stop asking for it to reopen. You'd stop crying over what you lost. Because what God is about to do in your life will not require the approval of the people who left you. It will not depend on the resources you used to have. It will not rely on the identity you once clung to. When God opens the next door, it will come with power, clarity, and peace. But here's the key. Don't miss the new door because you're staring at the old one. Don't miss the blessing ahead because your heart is still chained to what's behind. The past has nothing new to say. The closed door has served its purpose. The chapter has ended, and now God is turning the page. Will you trust Him to write the next one? Will you stop trying to pry open doors that no longer belong to you? Will you stop pleading for things God has removed and start praising Him for the new thing He's doing? Because God is not done. The door may be closed, but the story is not over. The hallway may be long, but the promise still stands. And the silence may be loud, but God is still speaking. He is still moving. He is still in control. And what He has planned for you is not small. It is not average. It is not mediocre. It is greater, so much greater. Let go of the door that closed and make room for the one that's about to open. Because when God opens it, no force in hell, no lie from the enemy, and no failure in your past can stop you from walking into it. And when you do, you'll understand why the last door had to shut. Because this one is the one that leads you straight into the fullness of God's purpose for your life. And I say to you now, lift your head, because your journey is not over just because one door has closed. Do not tie your worth to an open path or a locked opportunity. Your identity does not come from what left, but from the one who never leaves. The door may be closed, yes, but the presence of God is still open to you. And when you walk with God, you are never stranded, never abandoned, never forsaken. God does not desert His people in the wilderness. He delivers them through it. He doesn't leave them at dead ends. He parts seas. He doesn't stop at obstacles. He transforms them into testimonies. God is not looking for people who understand the whole plan. He's looking for people who will trust Him even when the path is dark and the road is silent. You may not know what's next, but God does. You may not understand why things had to fall apart, but God knows what He's building in its place. The closed door you mourn today may be the very thing that saves your destiny tomorrow. And sometimes it's not just one door that shuts, it feels like all of them slam at once. The phone stops ringing, the opportunities dry up, the support disappears. But let me tell you something. When every earthly door closes, it's often because God is redirecting your gaze upward. He's teaching you not to lean on people, not to lean on systems, not to lean on your own strength, but to lean fully, wholly, and desperately on Him. There is a sacred power in surrender. There is a divine authority that flows into your life the moment you stop fighting for what God has already ended. When you release your grip on what you thought you needed, God places in your hands what you were truly made for. That's where the breakthrough comes, not in striving, but in trusting. Not in chasing, but in submitting. Not in forcing doors open, but in waiting patiently for the one God will unlock with His own hand. Let me speak directly to the aching heart. God has not forgotten you. That door closed, yes, but not to punish you. It closed to protect your future. It closed because your value exceeds the thing you lost. It closed because your calling is higher than what you were settling for. You were about to compromise your soul for something smaller than your purpose. And God in His love said, no, not this, not now. And sometimes God's no is louder proof of His presence than His lies. Because anyone can bless what is easy, but only a loving God dares to block what looks good but leads to ruin. And don't miss this. Every door God closes prepares you to handle the one He's about to open. Closed doors produce maturity. They teach you patience. They force your faith to stretch beyond emotion and into conviction. They teach you that blessings are not always things you receive, but also things God removes. And when God removes something, it is always with the intention to replace it with something holier, higher, and more rooted in His will. God is not trying to break you. He's trying to build you. He's forming your character. He's strengthening your inner resolve, because when the right door opens, it will demand more from you than the last one ever did. So don't curse the silence. Don't despise the waiting room, this season of your life where nothing seems to be moving. That's where God is doing the deepest work. That's where He refines your motives. That's where He tests your foundation. That's where He purifies your heart until you want nothing more than Him. And once your heart is aligned, once your spirit is surrendered, God opens a door that no one saw coming. It will not be forced. It will not be manipulated. It will not be earned by connections or influence. It will be pure. It will be perfect. It will be God. You must begin to see God's hand not only in the open doors, but also in the closed ones. Because both are part of the journey. The rejection and the reward, the breaking and the blessing, the silence and the shout. Don't just praise God for what He gives. Learn to praise Him for what He withholds. Because when God says no, He's often saying you are meant for more. When God closes the door, He is not taking something from you. He is saving something for you. And what He is saving cannot be contaminated by your past, cannot be touched by your enemies, cannot be delayed by your circumstances, because it has been preserved in His will, protected by His power, and prepared by His promise. Let me tell you, there is a door coming that will answer every doubt you've had. There is a moment approaching that will silence every lie spoken over your life. There is a breakthrough that will make you forget the pain of the waiting, but you must believe it before you see it. You must walk as if it's already done. You must act like the promise is already fulfilled. Because God is not moved by desperation. He is moved by faith. And when He sees faith, He moves mountains. When He sees trust, He shifts seasons. When He sees surrender, He releases the greater thing He has prepared. Don't look to your past to determine what God can do in your future. That door was never your destination. It was just a passage. And when it shut, it signaled that your time there had expired. Stop trying to revive what God has called dead. Stop trying to go back to what God rescued you from. If it ended, it was meant to end. And no matter how much you loved it, no matter how much it once blessed you, God will never allow your destiny to be tied to something He has removed. He will not let your future depend on your history. He will not allow your calling to be trapped behind a door that no longer leads to where He's taking you. When God shuts a door, He shuts it with purpose. Nothing in your life happens by chance. Nothing is random. God is not a God of disorder. He is a God of divine design. Every shift, every silence, every stop sign along your path is part of a holy blueprint. You may not see the pattern yet, but God has already drawn the masterpiece. You may be confused by the brushstrokes, but God sees the full canvas. He is painting your future with colors you have never seen before. Shades of wisdom, tones of strength, and strokes of unseen glory that will one day make your heart tremble with awe. You need to understand this. God is not only closing doors to protect you from what is outside, He is also preparing you on the inside. He is building endurance in your spirit. He is teaching you to lean not on emotions, but on steady trust. He is training your heart to depend not on outcomes, but on His voice. Let me speak to the one who has stayed faithful and still keeps meeting closed doors. You have prayed. You have fasted. You have remained obedient, yet the answer feels delayed. Hear this: God is not dismissing your devotion. He is multiplying its impact in ways you cannot yet see. Your prayers are not wasted. Your tears have not disappeared into nothing. God has gathered every one of them, and while you may see nothing changing on the surface, God is working beneath it. He is strengthening your roots, securing your foundation, and storing up blessings beyond what eyes have seen and ears have heard. Sometimes God closes a door because He's protecting you from premature exposure. You think you're ready, but God knows what's coming on the other side. He sees the wolves. He sees the traps. He sees the deception behind the opportunity. And so He closes the door not to restrict you, but to refine you. Not to withhold, but to prepare. And if you could see what He sees, you would fall to your knees in gratitude that He stopped you before you walked into ruin. God's mercy is often disguised as delay. His love is often cloaked in denial, but His guidance is perfect and His wisdom is without flaw. You must train your heart to stop associating a closed door with failure. That's the language of man, not of God. In God's kingdom, a closed door is a sacred signal. It is God saying, "You've outgrown this," or perhaps this no longer serves the calling I have placed upon you. You see, we are often too sentimental about seasons that were only meant to be temporary. We try to stretch temporary assignments into permanent roles. But when God says it's over, you must be bold enough to walk away, not in defeat, but in dignity. Because God does not demote, He transitions. God does not shrink your life, He shifts it toward expansion. And every time He takes something from your hand, it is because He is trying to place something far greater in its place. Stop asking for closed doors to reopen. If God locked it, let it stay locked. If God ended it, do not revive it. There is danger in returning to what God has already pulled you out of. There is destruction in reopening doors that were shut by divine hands. What God ends, He ends completely. And the moment you stop wrestling with His decision, you'll find peace in His direction. The quicker you surrender, the quicker you make room for what's coming next. You need to understand something vital. God is not in the business of regression. He never takes you backward. He only moves you forward. Even if the road feels like wilderness, even if the path feels lonely, even if the silence feels like a void, that's where trust is born. That's where faith is strengthened. In the quiet places, in the places where the doors are closed and the lights are dim, that's where God does His deepest work. Not on the mountaintop, but in the valley. Not in the palace, but in the prison. Because it's in the dark where your vision sharpens. It's in the stillness where your ears become sensitive to God's whisper. And it's when you are emptied of everything else that God fills you with Himself. So I say to you, walk with boldness, not bitterness. Move forward with trust, not trembling. When you see a door close, don't panic, praise. Don't collapse, commit. Don't complain, consecrate yourself before God. Because the moment you align your heart with the truth of His sovereignty, the door ahead begins to form. God does not open doors for the casual, the double-minded, or the half-hearted. He opens them for the steadfast, for the surrendered, for the ones who have proven in the waiting that they will not bow to fear, they will not compromise their values, and they will not chase man's validation when they already have God's favor. Every shut door is a call to rise higher, to see beyond human opportunity and step into divine orchestration. God will never lead you to less. He will never draw you into decrease. He is the giver of increase. He is the author of abundance. And even when it looks like subtraction, it is actually multiplication in disguise. What you lose now, you will gain later with divine interest. What you give up today, God will return in a form so perfect that you'll forget you ever felt the pain of letting go. The truth is this: God does not waste closed doors. Every one of them has purpose. Every one of them has a reason. You may not know it today, but one day you'll look back and say, "Thank God that door didn't open. Thank God He knew better than I did. Thank God He chose His will over my want." And in that moment you'll understand that God was never trying to punish you. He was preparing you, positioning you, protecting you, loving you in the way only a perfect and all-knowing God can. So don't stop now. Don't settle in disappointment. Don't sit at the door and mourn until your faith grows cold. Stand up in the power of truth. Remember who walks with you. The God who opens doors is the same God who closes them. And in both, He is good. In both, He is present. In both, He is working all things together for a greater purpose. Keep walking. Keep trusting, because that next door, the greater one, is already being built. And when it swings open, your soul will know this was worth every no, every wait, every tear, and every test. There is something sacred about a door that God shuts. It marks the end of human striving and the beginning of divine instruction. It declares to the soul, you are not in control here. God is. And that is where real freedom begins. Not when you kick down doors by your own effort, not when you manipulate your way through opportunities, but when you finally fall on your face and surrender and say, God, wherever you lead, I will follow. Even if it's through pain, even if it's through silence, even if it's through loss, I trust you more than I trust myself, because God never closes a door without purpose. It may disrupt your plans, but it never disrupts His. It may dismantle your expectations, but it never dismantles His promise. You may have built your entire life around a dream, around a relationship, around a goal, and when it collapsed, you thought everything was over. But it was never about the thing. It was about your heart. It was about your dependence. It was about what you were building your identity upon. And when God saw that the door was becoming your foundation instead of Him, He shut it to save you. That's not cruelty. That's divine mercy. And too often people try to force doors back open that God Himself has closed. They go back to places they've outgrown, hoping to find comfort and familiarity. They return to toxic connections, hoping for validation. But I'm here to tell you, what God closes, no human effort can reopen. And if you do manage to pry it open, what you walk into will not bless you. It will burden you. It will drain you. It will take you farther from your purpose and leave you emptier than you were before. Because if God is not in the door, there is no life on the other side of it. You will wander, you will struggle, and you will come to learn that not every opportunity is from God. Not every open door is divine. Some doors are traps. Some doors are distractions. And only by walking closely with God can you discern the difference. So when the door closes, don't grieve like one without hope. Stand with conviction and say, if God closed this, He is still writing something better, because He always is. He is the master of redemption, the author of restoration, the giver of increase. God is not subtracting from your life to leave you empty. He is clearing the way so that your soul can breathe again, so that your purpose can unfold without delay, so that your future is not contaminated by yesterday's attachments. What you think is a breaking, God calls a breakthrough. What you see as a rejection, God sees as redirection. And until you start seeing life through the lens of God's wisdom, you will keep mourning doors that were never meant to stay open. Let me speak this into your soul right now. Every closed door is an announcement from God that your growth requires separation. You cannot become who you are meant to be while clinging to what no longer fits your season. You cannot walk into spiritual maturity with carnal attachments. You cannot fly while dragging the weight of dead seasons. And so God begins the cutting. He begins the pruning. He begins the closing of access, not to punish, but to elevate. Because there are levels of your destiny that demand holiness. They demand clarity. They demand obedience. And God loves you too much to promote you prematurely. But make no mistake, when the door finally opens, it will be unmistakable. It won't look like anything you planned. It won't feel like anything you predicted, because God doesn't recycle human strategies. He breathes life into divine appointments. You'll step into rooms you didn't lobby for. You'll receive calls you never applied for. You'll be handed opportunities that no one can explain except to say, this had to be God. That's what happens when you wait on Him. That's what happens when you trust through the drop. That's what happens when you stop chasing what's behind and start believing in what's ahead. But the preparation matters. The waiting season is not punishment. It's positioning. It's the place where God builds your foundation so strong that no storm can shake you. And hear me, if you skip the preparation, the blessing will crush you. If you rush the timing, the open door will expose you instead of promote you, because only God knows when you're ready. He sees the impurities in your motives. He sees the pride hiding in your heart. He sees the ambition that's still rooted in fear, and so He waits. He waits until the fire has refined you. He waits until you've learned to worship without conditions. He waits until your faith is not tied to outcomes, but to His presence alone. And when that moment comes, when the refining is complete, when the foundation is strong, when the heart is pure, God will open a door that no man, no system, no enemy can shut. And you won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for it. You won't have to chase it. It will come with peace. It will come with favor. It will come with clarity. And it will come because you waited for God, not because you manipulated your way in. God is looking for people who trust Him more than they trust their feelings. People who will praise Him for the closed doors as much as they praise Him for the open ones. People who will say, even if you don't give me what I want, I will still follow you. I will still worship you. I will still believe that your way is perfect. That kind of faith moves the heart of God. That kind of surrender releases doors you never even prayed for. Because when your heart is aligned with God's will, the doors He opens don't just bless you, They bless everyone connected to you. So don't give up. Don't lose hope. You're closer than you think. The silence is not absence. It's strategy. The delay is not denial. It's divine timing. And the door that's about to open will remind you that God never forgot, never failed, and never abandoned you. He was simply making sure that what He had for you would be received by the version of you that was truly ready. Keep walking, keep believing, keep praising, because God closes doors only when something greater is on the way. And now let me speak to the one who feels stuck in the hallway between the door that closed and the one that has yet to open. You feel suspended, forgotten, caught in a strange space where nothing makes sense and everything seems delayed. But this space, this sacred hallway of waiting, is not a void. It is a furnace. It is a divine workshop where God shapes you into someone who can carry what is coming. It is not the enemy's playground. It is God's proving ground. You are not lost. You are being prepared. You are not forsaken. You are being fortified. What feels like silence is divine strategy. What feels like abandonment is a powerful arrangement by God to build your resilience, to mature your perspective, and to deepen your trust. You must remember this. God is not rushing. His timeline is not tied to your panic. God doesn't bend under pressure. He is sovereign in stillness. He works in perfect precision. The door you want so badly may not open because it doesn't lead where your calling is headed. And instead of dragging you down a detour, God chooses to delay what you desire to secure what you need. His wisdom is beyond comprehension. What we call unanswered prayers are often answered differently, higher, fuller, richer than we had the faith to imagine. Some you prayed, you fasted, you believed, yet the door still slammed shut. And now you sit there asking God, why? But let me tell you something that will shake your soul free from despair. God is not obligated to explain Himself to prove that He is good. His goodness is not validated by the doors He opens or the blessings He gives. His goodness is who He is. His ways are higher than your thoughts. His decisions are wrapped in eternal vision. And when He closes a door, it's because He sees what's ahead and has already chosen something better for your life than what you were begging to keep. And sometimes power requires discomfort. Sometimes it requires the removal of safety nets so you can learn to walk on faith alone. That's when you begin to experience God in ways you never imagined. Not as a distant provider of blessings, but as a present sustainer of your soul. He strips away the lesser so you can stand in the greater. He removes the noise so you can hear His whisper. He cuts off the distractions so you can walk in direction. Do not be surprised when the doors you prayed for yesterday are the ones God closes today. You may have prayed from a place of immaturity. You may have asked from a place of desperation. But God in His mercy does not give you what your emotions beg for. He gives you what your spirit needs. You are not being punished. You are being promoted. God does not close doors to reduce your life. He closes them to raise the standard of your future. What you think is falling apart is actually being divinely rebuilt. What you call loss is preparation for legacy. There are doors that must close because they do not have the capacity to contain what God has placed inside you. There are jobs, relationships, titles, even locations that once fit the old version of you, but cannot hold the weight of who you are becoming. And because God loves you, He will not allow you to shrink to stay in places you've outgrown. And He will shut the door before you forfeit your destiny for comfort. He will interrupt your plans before you compromise your purpose. And in those moments, when everything seems to shut down, when nothing responds, when all you hear is silence, God is the loudest. He speaks through the stillness. He trains your ears to hear Him, not through outcomes, but through alignment. And you begin to see that success is not about how many doors open, but about how many you were willing to walk away from when God said, "This is no longer for you." You begin to realize that spiritual maturity is measured not by how many blessings you collect, but by how many you can release in obedience to the one who gave them. Some doors close and we mourn. We sit outside them with our heads low, replaying memories, romanticizing the past. But let me remind you, nostalgia is not revelation. The past may feel safe, but it no longer holds your future. God is not calling you backward. He's calling you forward. He's calling you to something new, something bold, something that cannot be contained within the walls of what was. And every time you surrender a closed door, you make space for divine power to break in with something unimaginable. You see, God operates on the level of eternity, not momentary emotion. What you thought you needed may have been a short-term comfort, but God is setting you up for long-term glory. The door may have given you a platform, but would it have preserved your soul? It may have increased your visibility, but would it have deepened your faith? God cares not just about where you go, but about who you become along the way. He shuts doors not just to protect your path, but to preserve your purity, your integrity, your peace. And I need you to grasp this. What is from God will not require you to compromise. It will not exhaust your spirit. It will not pull you away from your values. The right door will not create confusion. It will bring clarity. It will align with God's peace. It will come without striving. And when you walk through it, you'll know it wasn't your strength that made it happen. It was the sheer mercy of God. So when the next door opens, and it will, you must be ready. Ready to step into it with confidence, not hesitation. Ready to honor God with what's been placed in your hands. Ready to move, not as one who barely survived, but as one who has been sanctified through every shut door, every lonely moment, every broken plan. You are not weak. You are not behind. You are being shaped into a vessel that can handle the weight of glory. Let every closed door be a reminder that God is still involved in the smallest details of your life. He is not far away. He is right there watching, guiding, and preparing. Trust Him not only when things work out the way you planned, but especially when they don't. That's where real faith lives, in the unknowing, in the waiting, in the surrender. And when it's all said and done, when the new door finally swings wide, and you walk into a season you never imagined, you will lift your hands and say, "God, thank you for the doors you didn't let me walk through. Thank you for the ones you shut without explanation. Thank you for holding me back until I was ready." Because it will be clear then, everything was orchestrated with wisdom, guided by love, and sealed by the power of God. So press forward. Let go of what closed. Because what's ahead isn't just another chapter, it's the greater that God always promised, and it's waiting for your trust to unlock it. So now I say to you, with unwavering conviction, stand firm, lift your head, and silence the voice of doubt. That closed door was not the end. It was the signal of a greater beginning. It was not rejection, it was redirection by the hand of God who sees beyond what your eyes can reach. Do not remain in grief at the edge of what has ended. Rise in faith and move forward, because the door God is opening is not merely better, it is divine. It is exactly what your soul needed, even when disappointment clouded your vision. Trust this truth. God never closes one door without already preparing another. Believe that what He has planned for you stretches far beyond the limits of what you lost. Let your heart be anchored in this understanding: God's delays are never defeats. They are intentional alignments, perfectly timed. Every no was protection. Every ending was preparation. Every quiet moment was an invitation to listen more deeply. And now, with each step you take ahead, walk with confidence, knowing you are not walking alone. God goes before you. God walks beside you. God surrounds you. Let this truth sink deep into your spirit. What God opens, no one can shut. And what He closes, no one can force open. He is not restricted by human plans or earthly schedules. He is authoring your story with purpose and precision. And when that new door opens, it will not be by chance or effort. It will be by divine appointment. You will step through it not as the same person who stood at the last door, but as someone refined, strengthened, and filled with faith. Keep moving forward. Keep trusting, because when God closes a door, He is always, without exception, opening something greater.